Greetings viewers, and thank you for joining us today as we examine a critical aspect of the legal case against R. Kelly, specifically the charge brought under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, commonly known as RICO. This charge, we argue, was fundamentally misapplied in R. Kelly's case. Our discussion will focus on why the RICO charge does not hold up under scrutiny, based on the prosecution's failure to prove the existence of a criminal enterprise, the absence of an organization structured for organized crime, the use of RICO as a prosecutorial shortcut, and the lack of evidence showing special incentives for staff members. Listen as we unpack these points carefully and thoroughly to present our defense for Mr. Kelly in this court of public opinion. To begin with, let's clarify what a RICO charge entails. Like we have mentioned before, the RICO Act, which was passed in 1970, was designed purposely to combat organized crime syndicates, such as the mafia, that operate as structured enterprises with the primary purpose of engaging in illegal activities for profit. Under RICO, the government must prove two key elements. First, the existence of an enterprise, which is a group of individuals or entities working together in a structured way, and second, a pattern of racketeering activity, meaning a series of criminal acts conducted through this enterprise as the common purpose. These acts, known as predicate offenses, must be part of a coordinated effort to further the enterprise's common criminal objectives. Without both elements, an enterprise and a pattern of racketeering as the common purpose, RICO cannot apply. In R. Kelly's case, the prosecution alleged that he operated a criminal enterprise consisting of his staff, managers and associates with the purpose of committing crimes such as sexual misconduct, coercion and trafficking. However, we contend that the prosecution failed to meet the burden of proof for these elements, particularly the existence of a criminal enterprise, for a lack of a common illegal purpose. Let's explore why this is the case. The heart of our argument is that the prosecution did not provide sufficient evidence to establish that R. Kelly operated a criminal enterprise. A criminal enterprise under RICO is not just a group of people working together. It must be an organized entity with a clear structure, hierarchy and common purpose dedicated to criminal activity. And the key component here is dedicated to criminal activity as a common purpose. Think of a drug cartel or an organized crime syndicate. These are the types of entities RICO was designed to target. The prosecution claimed that R. Kelly's staff, including managers, assistants and security personnel, constituted this enterprise working together to facilitate his alleged crimes. But the evidence presented simply does not support this assertion. First, let's consider the nature of R. Kelly's professional environment. As a globally recognized musician, R. Kelly employed a team to manage his career, his tours and personal affairs. These individuals, and I mean the managers, drivers and assistants, were hired to perform legitimate job functions such as scheduling performances, arranging travel and handling logistics. The prosecution argued that these employees were part of a coordinated effort to enable criminal behavior, but they failed to demonstrate how these roles were inherently criminal, or how they deviated from standard industry practices for a celebrity of R. Kelly's stature. For example, arranging transportation or managing schedules is a routine task for any high-profile artist team. The prosecution did not provide concrete evidence showing that these tasks were performed with the explicit intent of furthering illegal activities. Moreover, a criminal enterprise requires a shared purpose among its members to engage in criminal conduct. The prosecution did not prove that R. Kelly's staff shared a common goal of committing crimes. Instead, the evidence suggests that these individuals were performing their jobs as expected in the entertainment industry and did nothing illegal in this regard. Without clear proof of a unified criminal intent, the prosecution's claim of an illegal enterprise falls apart. The absence of this critical element undermines the entire RICO charge, as RICO cannot apply without a proven criminal enterprise. Building on this point, let's examine the nature of R. Kelly's operations more closely. The prosecution painted a picture of a sophisticated organization designed to perpetrate crimes, but this portrayal does not align with the reality of R. Kelly's professional and personal life. An organization under RICO must have a structure and purpose geared toward illegal activities. For example, a criminal enterprise might have roles specifically dedicated to carrying out illegal acts, such as enforcers in a gang or money launderers in a cartel. In R. Kelly's case, No such structure existed. The individuals surrounding R. Kelly were hired for legitimate purposes tied to his music career. In fact, his team included people like tour managers, sound engineers and personal assistants, roles that are standard in the entertainment world. The prosecution failed to show how these roles were part of a criminal hierarchy or how they were organized to facilitate illegal activities. For instance, there was no evidence of a formal chain of command where staff members were assigned specific criminal tasks or reported to R. Kelly in a way that advanced a criminal agenda. Instead, the prosecution relied on vague allegations suggesting that routine job duties like arranging meetings or travel, which by the way are not criminal in nature, were inherently sinister. This is a mischaracterization of how celebrity entourages function and does not meet the legal threshold for a RICO enterprise. Furthermore, the prosecution did not demonstrate continuity or coordination in the alleged criminal activities. A RICO enterprise requires ongoing organized criminal conduct, not isolated incidents. The prosecution's case leaned heavily on individual allegations of misconduct, but they did not connect these incidents to a broader organized scheme. Without evidence of a cohesive criminal purpose binding R. Kelly's team together around crime itself, the RICO charge lacks foundation. R. Kelly's operations were in fact centered on his music career and not on running a criminal organization. Now let's address a critical point: the prosecution's use of the RICO charge as a scapegoat to avoid proving individual crimes. RICO is a powerful tool for prosecutors because it allows them to bundle multiple allegations into a single charge, lowering the burden of proof for each individual act. Instead of proving each alleged crime beyond a reasonable doubt, the prosecution can argue that the defendant engaged in a pattern of behavior through an enterprise, making it easier to secure a conviction even when undeserved. In R. Kelly's case, we argue that the RICO charge was introduced precisely because the prosecution knew they could not successfully prove the individual allegations against him. The allegations against R. Kelly were serious, but they were also complex and difficult to substantiate in court. Many of the claims relied on verbal testimony that was contested or that lacked corroborating evidence. By framing the case under RICO, the prosecution attempted to sidestep the need to prove each incident with the precision required in a standalone criminal charge. For example, proving sexual misconduct or trafficking in a specific instance requires detailed evidence such as witness testimony, physical evidence or documentation that meets the legal standard of proof. The prosecution's case, however, struggled to provide this level of evidence for many of the individual allegations. Instead of building a case on solid proof for each charge, the prosecution used RICO to create a narrative of a sprawling criminal enterprise, hoping to overwhelm the jury with the volume of allegations rather than their quality. This tactic allowed them to present a broad and generalized picture of wrongdoing without having to meet the high evidentiary bar for each specific crime. We contend that this was a strategic move to compensate for the weaknesses in their case. If the prosecution believed they could prove the individual crimes against R. Kelly, they would not have needed to rely on the RICO framework. The use of RICO was in essence an admission that their case was not strong enough to stand on its own merits. Finally, let's consider a crucial piece of evidence, or rather, the lack thereof, that further undermines the RICO charge. And that is the absence of special incentives for R. Kelly's staff. If R. Kelly were truly running a criminal enterprise as the prosecution claimed, one would expect to see a system of rewards or incentives for staff members who participated in the alleged criminal activities. In traditional RICO cases, members of a criminal enterprise often receive financial bonuses, promotions or other benefits for their roles in illegal operations. These incentives are a hallmark of organized crime motivating participants. In R. Kelly's case, no such evidence was presented. The prosecution did not provide documentation, testimony or financial records showing that R. Kelly's staff received extra payments, bonuses or special perks for performing criminal tasks. Instead, the evidence suggests that his employees were compensated with standard salaries or fees for their legitimate job duties. For example, a driver was paid to drive, a manager was paid to manage, and an assistant was paid to assist. So what could have been the motivation for crime? These are not the hallmarks of a criminal enterprise but of a typical professional team in the entertainment industry. The absence of special incentives is a glaring hole in the prosecution's case. If R. Kelly's staff were knowingly participating in a criminal enterprise, one would expect to see some form of reward structure to incentivize their involvement. After all, engaging in illegal activities carries significant risks including legal consequences and reputational damage. Without evidence of additional compensation or benefits tied to criminal conduct, the prosecution's claim that R. Kelly's team was a criminal enterprise lacks credibility. And this absence reinforces our argument that no such enterprise existed. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.